and welcome to WRPB TCV. And I have a special interview today. It wasn't going to be like an interview, but today will be like an interview because I want to introduce Bob Leone from Acquisition Experts. You've been on before,
Yes, sir.
moving forward,
Now
the
we're gonna do this
control is going to be on your side.
show. Yep.
So you're going to be doing your own stuff here,
Yep.
and like you've been doing this a while, and we talk off camera, and sometimes I say, why don't we put on the camera when we're talking off camera? Because all the information is usually given great off camera.
Yep.
I want to talk about what you do. So what do you do?
So Wayne, that's almost a plug question because everybody tries to figure out what does Bob Leone do. I'm a business broker, and you say what's a business broker, and the first thing that comes to mind is I'm a real estate agent,
Right.
and no, it's not being a real estate agent. I help people plan to sell their business. That's the way it should go.
Right.
I should help you plan. Most people come too late and they want to sell now and they didn't plan. So a lot of the work that we could do to help them get more money for their business, it's too late to set that up. So usually a 2 or 3 year period of time so that we have 3 good years of financials in place. That's like the sweet spot for us.
Okay, so and that point, as many others, are going to be discussed in detail moving forward on your show.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you hit an interesting point about people looking at you like a realtor. And realtors can sell businesses, but it's not the same as selling a house. First of all, today it's really different because today, by the time you're ready to sell a house and they come to you, they know more than you because the internet gives them an aerial view, a street view, a Matterport 3D view. Then they like the house and they buy it. They get an inspection, they're done. You have so many points that you have to hit before you can even get close to that going. And you have to do it in total confidence.
Absolutely. So that's the big issue. The big issue is that when you do a real estate transaction, you have 2 contingencies. Does it pass inspection, and can you get a loan? Once you pass those 2 things, we're moving to the closing table. In a business transaction, when you're transacting a business, we're transacting the assets of the business. We're not buying a corporation. You keep your corporation, I form a new corporation, and we move the assets of your business into my corporation. But what does that mean? That means that we have a contingency on all the financial due diligence. Every speck of information, 3 years of tax returns, P&Ls, balance sheets. We want to see employee files. We want to see inspection reports. We want to see health reports. We want to see anything that could possibly make a difference to that business. Then after we were settled with the buyer looking at all that financial information, he says, okay, now we have to go to the landlord and see if the landlord is going to approve this person. And this is a big issue in today's market.
Major issue.
Major
I
issue.
had it here. I took a partner on here when I came. She was on the lease. When I got rid of her, it was like she wanted to be off the lease. And why would a landlord want to take a guarantor off a lease?
Yep.
Okay. Now, I was lucky and I was able to do it. But that's a really hard scenario because, hey, not only do I have one person now I got 2 people. And they can take a deal that you spent hours and hours and hours going through paperwork and stuff like that, and it could be nipped in the bud like nothing.
Right. So when I first started doing this 13 years ago, the market was a little different, and we didn't really go for the lease or X for the lease up front, because, everything we do is confidential, and you don't want to go to the landlord and all of a sudden start having him know that you're looking to sell. But, I can see you're a pretty savvy businessman. And, there's a little nuance there. You got a lease, you want this person off the lease, and the landlord is like, no. Because they have a guarantor behind you now, so that if something happens to you, they can always go back to them. So 2 big things that have happened to me in my career with leases. Number one, I had a foreign investor buying a business that basically the landlord, there was a big plaza, Home Depot, Publix Plaza. The landlord looked at him as a ghost. Had a ton of money, $500,000 in the bank, owned a $500,000 home in Boca. But when it came to asking for the assignment of lease, the landlord ended up requiring 1 year security deposit for him to be qualified.
Wow.
Didn't make a difference how much money.
Wow.
Then the second one was a company that we sold where the landlord had written into the lease a paragraph that gave him like a partnership in the business. That if you sold your business, he gets so much money over the selling price. So he becomes a partner. And then the third issue is also, is there a transfer fee in that lease just because they got to do a little piece of paper and say that we're transferring lease. And the highest I've seen so far was $12,000 to do an assignment of lease.
You know, let's face it, we live in a world where it's all about money.
Absolutely.
Okay. I was not only, interesting enough, not only was I blessed for the landlord here to take her off the lease, he also bought into the company, he also paid her investment back.
Nice.
So I was able to maneuver that. Otherwise, I would have had a heart attack way sooner. Okay. She was just a terrible partner. And it happens. You know, and thank God she was just a partner up here and not down south.
Right.
Okay. So through your shows that you're going to be doing, you're going to be talking about preparation, I guess, because that's going to be like really, really important.
Absolutely.
Having that exit strategy that I would say, and you're in the industry, I'm just coming out here with a guess, 98% of the people have no exit strategy.
I think you hit the number right on the head. And I'll give you another staggering statistic.
Go ahead.
Out of all the businesses that are listed for sale, and you say, okay, well, where do you even go to find a business for sale? You know, there's many websites out there, but some of the big ones are BizBuySell is the biggest, BizQuest, Business Nation. So out of all the businesses that get put up for sale in the United States, approximately 30% get sold.
And I guess because there's many reasons they don't get sold. I guess because of the things that we were talking about, the breakdown in between, okay? And, you know, it's really interesting because when I started this industry, and I was like, I don't know, 2 years into it, 3 years into it, and I was making a name for the company, I had companies, I don't want to mention the name of a big radio station, conglomerate, come to me and offer me money to buy me out. But I had more money worth of equipment than they were offering, and even if they offered what I had in equipment and some extra, and we talk about this all the time, I had a personal attachment to the company, and you can't have that if you're selling something.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's a business transaction.
Right, and it's hard because I know that this was my baby, and I started it in the beginning, and we were like the first, and selling it is like, what's the value of my heart and soul that I put into it?
So now
Zero.
you're talking about the value that I bring to the table for my client. Probably the biggest area is the valuation of a business. Because when you look at your business, you've worked this business for 20 years. You've got your heart, your soul into it. You make you take home $100,000 a year. But you've done this for 20 years, and it took you a long time to start making $100,000 a year. So in your mind, you might think that this business is worth $500,000, $1 million. You got all this nice equipment. It's a production studio, and the reality is that when somebody looks to buy that business, they're looking at the cash flow, the return on investment. It's all about risk. You know, how can they walk into this business, take over these assets that are now used, that we could buy probably a lot cheaper than what you bought them for, and how can we keep the business rolling to make as much as you did and make more in the future? You
know, and I can't say any different. There's an emotional attachment to this business. If you don't want to believe me, you can ask Spencer. There's an emotional attachment to you don't see it now, but there's a green screen wall behind us, okay? That's my baby. And I yell at everybody who gets even close to it because it's custom done. And yeah, can someone come in and use a cloth like most places do?
Right.
Yeah. But whatever it costs, it's worth 400 times more in my eyes because I watched them build that wall, ordered the paint from California, watched them put up 6 coats. It was like, and you have to learn to emotionally separate yourself. Now, what's interesting is I have investment properties,
Okay.
and I'm emotionally not attached to them at all.
Crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy. But again, we know each other a while. I started this industry. I was one of the first internet radio station, first internet TV station, and people said, "Hey, it's a pipe dream. Get a real job." And I'm sure people who are entrepreneurs and business people who open these businesses, okay, had gotten pushback from family members and stuff.
Yep.
Okay, because you have a great job. You're working here, and you're going to get a pension. No, I want to do a business, and people look at them like they're crazy. Entrepreneurs are crazy. That's a whole nother story. Okay, so a good business person ready to buy a business should prepare to sell that business from the day they buy it. It's really that kind of, and not that they're gonna,
Right.
but they should have a thought in their mind, correct?
I actually had an old timer 30 years ago. You know, when I was first starting to become an entrepreneur and I was going into my first cleaning company, he said, the smartest thing you can do is start planning your exit today. You start your business today, start planning your exit strategy, and if you have a partnership, absolutely start talking about how that partnership is going to dissolve at the beginning.
You kill them off.
Well, that's absolutely one way of doing it. But I have an ex-son-in-law. I used to tell him that all the time. He had a partner, and they were young guys. And there is going to come a day. It's like everybody thinks that, there's never going to come this day that I'm not going to be part of this business. I can guarantee you that there's a day coming that you're not going to be part of this business.
Oh, I hate to say
And
that.
every business owner has to come to terms with that. And if you're partners, you better come to terms with that right now at the beginning of the partnership, so that the dissolution, it's like a divorce. It can be ugly, So if you plan it out at the beginning, you save a lot of heartache at the end. But the average business guy, he doesn't think that one day I'm gonna pass it on to my child or my kids, or maybe the employees are gonna buy it. That doesn't happen anymore. That happened years ago. Today,
My daughter doesn't want this business.
They don't want the
She's
business.
married to an attorney. She lives in D.C., makes more money with him. They make more money than she would ever make here. Okay? So Spencer and I are thinking that we're going to die here. So you're going to come in one day, we'll both be dead, and that'll be the dissolution.
So then it becomes an asset sale. Then I just come in, I talk to your wife, and I say, listen, the assets are worth
$5.
$50,000, and we'll see if we can get somebody that wants to take over the space and sign for the lease.
It's such a whirlwind industry that you're in. And on top of it being a whirlwind industry that you're in, it's such a confidentiality industry. Like I can say to you, hey, I want to sell this, but you can't go anywhere with that.
Right.
Okay.
So think about that. When you go to sell a house, a car, a boat, you put for sale signs up, you
Right.
put it on wherever you're going to put it on. You hire me to come sell your business, and it's XYZ business. It's on Highway US 1, and I can't tell anybody where it is, who it is. I can't really tell anybody about it until first I pre-qualify them. I get them to sign a confidentiality agreement. Then I've got to get, some personal financial information from them, some personal background. Do they have any experience in this particular industry? And if it's going to be an SBA deal where they're going to look for financing from a bank, I got to see if they're going to, qualify for that.
These are all the pieces that you guys are going to learn about
Right.
as in the future as Bob takes over the main seat, okay, and dissolves his relationship with me at this table, okay. But he has the knowledge and I don't. So, like as we sat here today, whatever he spoke about, I learned, just like you guys learned. It's got to be a tough business. And as we get to the top of our time, so I say I want to sell this business, okay? So I'm guessing you have a list of people that want to buy businesses, but no specific industries per se.
Correct.
So you have to kind of qualify them to see if they're willing to be in this industry, and then all the other pieces, or all the other pieces, and then if they want to be in this industry.
So what we do is, as a company acquisition experts, we have a database of 15 years of people coming to us that have been looking for businesses, and we stay in touch with them through our newsletter and advertising. I personally do my own personal newsletter once a week, so I have buyers that I've been working with for the past 10, 13 years. I could have tagged myself years ago as Bob Leone, the restaurant guy, because I sell a lot of restaurants, because that was part of my past work experience. But I didn't want to be narrowed into one area, because if I tell you I'm a restaurant guy and you want me to sell you a film studio, maybe you don't feel as confident.
Right.
So, I've sold Ace Hardwares, I've sold pet grooming stores, florists, engineering firms.
I want to buy a chicken wing place.
Chicken wing place.
You have any?
Well, we probably, at this point, and we can kind of phase out with this, COVID-19 has, done a lot to the economy. And you don't see it right now, but you're going to see it, in the very near future. People aren't able to pay their, especially in the hospitality industry, they're not able to pay their rent. And the landlords are trying to be as patient and considerate as they can. But as we all know, things aren't coming back as quick, as sharp as we thought they would or would have liked them to be. So we expect to have a lot of second generation, and we're not really commercial realtors, but we have access to that database as well. We expect to have a lot of second generation restaurant space come up September, October, November, when the landlords just can't give any more forgiveness.
I don't have to.
And don't have to.
Okay. Right.
So, we've been extremely busy since COVID-19. The government put out this great CARES Act bill that said that if you buy an SBA qualified business, you will get the first 6 months of principal and interest paid. So it has had every business broker I know right now is scrambling, because we have people coming out of the woodwork. Plus, you got what's going on in these northeastern cities, Midwest cities, and people are leaving these big cities and coming to Florida.
People are leaving, first of all, the big cities and going to the suburbs.
Yep.
Because they're working from home anyway.
Right.
Why spend the money in the big cities? My daughter lives in D.C. and, they have a 1,200 square foot, two-bedroom house that they paid $1 million for.
Wow.
Okay. Well, they're on Capitol Hills, which
Right.
is pricey. Well, he can, for what he paid for that, he can have like an unbelievable house, and he works 90% of the time from home. So his company, which is very, very large, second largest company in that industry in the country,
Okay.
has now put a rule in place that the partners have to keep residents within a certain mileage of the office, because they can't train anybody. They can't.
Right.
But you can buy a secondary home, so they're going to really end up probably keeping that house and renting it out, and renting an apartment, okay, and then buying a bigger house. Probably, I'm going to guess I'm hoping South Carolina. Okay, he wants to be in Florida, so he's my hero. Okay, my
Right.
daughter doesn't want to be in Florida, but it's interesting how businesses are working in this economy. But I seriously have somebody who wants to buy a chicken wing place, and there was one that came up very close to here.
Yep.
And the people snagged it before he could even make an offer.
Yeah, and that's the problem with second. Of all the retail space available in any area, second generation restaurant space is the quickest to go, because when somebody can save the infrastructure of building out a restaurant, they don't have to put the hood system in, they don't have to put in the grease trap, the electrical is correct, the plumbing's correct,
Yep.
all of that stuff is in place. They can save, depending on the square footage of the place, they can save anywhere from $20,000-$30,000 to $200,000-$300,000 in a build out.
Right, because you're going to do a build out of a Rotelli's or Outback.
$1.5 million, $2 million.
Okay, so if you can buy another one, that's amazing. Okay, So you're going to be coming on. You're going to be going over all these points
Yep.
separately.
Separately.
Okay. We just kind of mishmashed everything together, so you had an idea of what you're up against. Okay, in dealing in the business area, what he's up against in a segment of, and I know he's going to hate this, in a segment of real estate sales, because it really falls into that genre. Okay, but he's got so many pushes against people in that in your industry have so many pushes against you that it makes moving forward that much more difficult. With that, I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Wayne.
Everybody
It's
have
been
a great day. We'll be back.
Bye-bye.